and we turn it on just when you get curious.
Is it good already or?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Yes. So I was saying that I think I comprehend what you're saying, and I also comprehend that that is the issue. But uh, it seems that, like, so the way I observe things is that I see myself wanting, or like I notice that that is the issue, and therefore I want to do something about it. But doing something about it is also the issue because it kind of,
It's almost
I
like a
think,
catch-22, isn't it?
yes, yeah, it's.
Guess what? The Buddha figured that out. And that's the main teaching of the Buddha that Western Buddhism is missing.
Okay.
There is
So,
something missing. In fact, there's two things that are missing.
okay.
And so that means that without these things, it's almost like having a horse cart without any horses. And we don't know why the horse cart don't just giddy up and go.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
Where in fact, in a way, you have to understand that you got to be one of the horses.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. In other words, we got to put some skin in the game.
Yes.
That's the problem. Number one, that I was telling you that there are two things that Western Buddhism is missing. One of them, Mahasi got right. And there's one also that Mahasi is missing. But that the sutras are clear, and Bhikkhu Buddhadasa talks about them both. And number one, I will use, because a student just told me this recently, he used the reference of having skin in the game.
Okay.
Okay. In the sense that an example would be talking about noting. Well, so what? So if you note it, let us say that you're standing on a road and you see a truck bearing right down on you. Maybe it's even sounding his horn. What are you going to do? I can see three possibilities. One, like most meditators, you're going to sit there and let that harmful thought run right over you.
Okay.
This is called noting. Note that thought well, because it's going to run right over you, and then it's going to be gone.
Yeah.
All right. The other way of doing it is to pull a Popeye. You know Popeye the Sailor Man with his can of spinach?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
These are the Jhana dudes. They're the ones that are putting their great big fist out trying to stop that truck. And they just get run over, too.
Yeah.
All right. And then there's a third way to do it, and that's one with right effort. One is taking no effort at all to get out of the way. You just see the truck hit him. In fact, he'd probably be better off if he didn't even see the truck and just let it run over him, which is what
Sure.
ordinary people are. But now
Yes.
he's a meditator, which means he's paying attention, he's watching what's happening, and it
Yes.
just runs right over him anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he wonders what happened.
Yes.
But there's a third option. And that third option is to step out of the way, get off the road.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the truck goes, and there it's gone. It's gone.
Okay.
Okay. This is the normal way that I introduce Anapanasati. But another way of introducing it is talking about it in the sense of the definition of the Buddha when he is actually defining what is one's right effort. And then
Okay.
we'll talk about it in Anapanasati. Okay? One's right effort can only be done when there is enough sati to pay attention. To
Yes.
sati is actually to remember. And once we remember, number two is we take a look. If you want to use the word note, you can do that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's gotten quite popular. Now, I want to
Yes.
make sure that we're
Yes.
not talking about sticky notes and post-it notes and notes that you write
Yes.
down and all, and noting in the sense of telling yourself a long story. but noting, and it says, I saw that.
Yes.
Okay. Instant things happen very quickly. So we begin to note very quickly. This is a skill to wake up and look. To wake up and look is samaditi, one's right view, and samasati together. To wake up and take a look. And then we add a third ingredient, and that third ingredient is right effort. Samavirya. Right effort. You have to take the effort. What is the right effort? The Buddha says, first off, one's right effort is the effort to have one's right view, to see right view as right view and wrong view is wrong view, and to change it from right view to wrong view, or from wrong view to right view.
Yes. Yes.
And also sati, that one's right effort is to build sati so that it's fast and strong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one's right effort with those three. Now we add the fourth ingredient, and I'll add it now, and then later we'll talk about it in detail, and that is sama sankappa, which actually means, it's actually translated as either right intention or right thought. But a better way to look at it is right attitude. If you've got the right attitude, you'll have the right thought. If you don't have the right attitude, you'll have the wrong thoughts. This is the right thought and right attitude, sankappa. So at this point in the instant, when we wake up, then one's right effort is to remove unwholesome thoughts and to put in wholesome thoughts. Now, these are those two things that we were talking about. One is the right effort to actually do something. And then the second is, what is it that needs to be done? And that is that you have to remove unwholesome thoughts and put wholesome thoughts in the mind. The Buddha was absolutely clear about that in numbers of suttas. This is why he talks about the hindrances, that we have to be well secluded from the hindrances.
Yes.
Is number one.
Yes.
Before we ever sukha or piti or applied and sustained thought or any other jhana factors, absolutely number one is we have to have all unwholesome thoughts out of the mind.
Yes.
And have only wholesome thoughts in the mind.
Yes.
Which takes some effort to do.
Certainly, yes.
And the noting system of Mahasi does not do either one of those things.
Yes.
It does neither take the effort to remove those thoughts, nor do they know what thoughts are to be removed, because they're not taught that unwholesome thoughts are dukkha, and therefore need to be removed before we do anything, that we have to be able to get the mind pure enough so that you only have one wholesome thought after another wholesome thought after another wholesome thought after another wholesome thought.
Mm-hmm.
In Sutta number 19 in the Majjhima Nikaya, there is a sutta by the name of, guess what? Two kinds of thoughts.
Okay.
Where it is actually defining wholesome and unwholesome. Unwholesome thoughts are thoughts of that are kind of ignorant, in the sense of thoughts of wanting things, thoughts of trying to fix things, thoughts of what's good and what's bad,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those kind of thoughts, which we
Craving
could
and aversion, or
we could call them critical thoughts.
Okay.
Thoughts to fix broken things, thoughts of comparisons, thoughts of danger and what we can do to get out of danger.
Mm-hmm.
These are unwholesome thoughts, thoughts of harming. On the other kind, on the side, are wholesome thoughts. And what are wholesome thoughts? Thoughts of everything is okay, nowhere to go, nothing to do, everything is all right, I can do this, no worries,
Mm-hmm.
no place to go, nothing to do. The spring comes and the grass grows by itself. That's Japanese haiku. Those guys know what they're talking about, but we're not talking about no place to go and nothing to do as a life's goal. We're talking about how to handle this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything that I need to do. My job is done. The only job that I needed to do was to remove the unwholesome thoughts, and now that the unwholesome thoughts are gone, I've done all the work I need to do.
Okay.
And so I can congratulate myself. You've done a good job there. You feel good, don't you? And in fact, that's exactly what happens is now when you have done this step, by the way, in Anapanasati Sutta, this is called gladdening the mind, to refresh the mind, to brighten the mind. If we don't brighten the mind with these wholesome thoughts, then we're weighed down with unwholesome thoughts, and we're not going to make much progress. In fact, if we really wake up to these unwholesome thoughts, we'll have some sort of dark night of the soul of misery and despair and fearfulness. Let's see, step 5 is fear. Step 6 is misery. Step 7 is...
It's quite a lot of... Yes.
Right. That's hindrances.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that stuff does not belong way up there at the level of doubt. That stuff belongs right down there at the point of purifying the mind. As soon as you see that unhappiness, that misery, throw it out. As soon as you see that disgust, throw it out. Take the effort that it, take that determination right then in that very moment. Redouble your efforts and throw that stuff out right now.
Yes.
Because you're not going to make any progress on the path until you do.
Yes.
It's almost like thinking of a hindrance in the mind is like a rock in the pocket. You're not going to be able to swim much with a rock in your pocket, not a big one.
Right.
Better to take those clothes off or get that rock out of your pocket. Otherwise, you'll go down with that rock.
So the way, how does one do that change from unwholesome to wholesome? Is it just by applying awareness to it, mindfulness to it, noticing it, and then kind of like, oh, I notice that I'm having unwholesome thoughts, and then I switch them to wholesome thoughts?
Yeah, you can have that kind of long thought process. The Buddha had a very short one. This is a very famous statement of the Buddha. You probably heard it before and didn't know how to apply it. And that is the very statement that he made when he was figuring this stuff out sitting under the Bo tree. And I'm not going to go into that story right now, but there was a time when he was figuring out Paticca Samuppada and the Four Noble Truths, and he stumbled across something important. And he kept it.
Okay.
5 words. He said, "Aha! I see you, Mara."
Okay.
Have you not heard that phrase before?
I have.
What do you think it means? It means, aha, I see an unwholesome thought in the mind. I got you. Aha, I caught you.
Yes. Okay.
Now, normally in the mind, it's very much like this, that the thought process or the world or whatever Mara that we want to talk about, and now we're thinking about it. By thinking about it, what that means is we are already, in a way, attached to it. It's in the mind. There it is. Okay, but when we wake up in sati and we take a look at what's going on, then what happens is, aha, I see you, Mara, which means now we've made a separation. I am not that thought. But that thought is unwholesome, and I see it as unwholesome. By having the next thought moment from this to this is a change, a major change. That's how you do it, is that little phrase will work. Aha, I see you, Mara. What's the very first statement that you're going to make when you wake up? What would be a good mantra for you? And I'm not talking about all the famous ones, but something that really works. The Buddha gave the little mantra, aha, I see you, Mara. Got ya, caught ya. And that's a gladdening thought, because it goes from here to here. That's a separation. We've actually separated. We are not the thought now. Before, we were under the delusion, I am this thought. Now we can say, aha, I see you.
Yes, there's a recognition of the thought that is separate from.
So it's not just, aha, I see you. Aha, I see you. Aha, I see you. Oh, I see you. That's not the way to practice. No, we've got to take that right effort of, aha, I see you. Okay? This is the right way to practice. It is a wake-up call. You've got to wake up to the dukkha in your mind, wake up to the unwholesome thoughts in your mind, and intentionally get a small list of words that are wholesome for you, gladden your mind, puts you at rest, puts you at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, normally what's happening is that because people have intermittent good and bad or wholesome and unwholesome thoughts, it's almost like that there's a faucet in the brain that turns on adrenaline, turns it off, leaks it out, a little bit leak, and then it turns it back off again. And a second or two later, it turns it back on. And so we wind up being restless, thinking that there's a job to do. We have anxiety, we have fears, we have tensions, and there's some place to go and something to do. And we can feel it down in, not into our bones, but beyond that, even deeper.
Yes, very visceral.
Right. And that is because of the kind of thoughts that we have. If we start giving ourselves very nurturing thoughts rather than these critical thoughts that are giving us work to do, judgments to make, rights and wrongs to call, now we can just accept everything in the sense of giving ourselves nurturing thoughts. So I want to be dangerous about this Western Buddhism term of acceptance, because they've got it all wrong. They think that they have to accept a whole bunch of shit. No, we want to throw the shit out. That's the whole point. We don't want to accept all of these hindrances in the mind. We want to get ourselves out of critical thinking into a state of nurturing, so that now what we're accepting is feeling really good. That's what we're going to accept. Feeling euphoric. That's what we're going to accept. Being able to apply the mind into the wholesome. That's something we're going to accept. And also being able to sustain the mind in the wholesome. That's what we're going to accept.
Okay.
Right? These are first jhana factors. Those are the things that we're going to accept, and those are the things that we're going to note. Those are the things that we're going to look at. And we're not going to be looking at unwholesome things, because the mind doesn't have any unwholesome things right now. Because as soon as things are unwholesome and we see it, out they go. Aha, I saw you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So back to Sutta number 19, where the Buddha was talking about two kinds of thoughts. He tells a story. And the story is of a cowherd. Now, we're not talking about drovers on the Chisholm Trail moving from Texas to Kansas City or anything like that by the tens of thousands. We're talking about an Indian cowherd. He may have 4 or 5, half a dozen, as many as he can manage.
Yes.
And he's taking them out to the pasture, and he's got a stick, because he knows that he's got to pass through a village, and there he's going to have to mind those cows strongly to keep them from stepping on children, or from taking food off of a food stall, or for doing some kind of damage. Just like the meditator sits down, and the first thing he's got to do is start getting his cows in order. He's got to take that stick and whack them. Okay?
Yes.
This is one's right effort now, is to whack those unwholesome thoughts. Aha, I see you. In other words, the cow, you cannot go there. I'm going to whack you to keep you from going there, because going there is very dangerous. If that cow starts taking stuff from that food stall, or steps on a child, or goes rambling into somebody's house, those villagers are going to get really unhappy, and the cowherd may lose his cows. So it's him. He's got to perform. He's got to get his cows in line. But once he's got them in line and they're all performing correctly and there's no hindrances there, he leads them through the village out to the pasture, where now they'll graze on the stubble and the stalks of the rice that's left around. And from there, he doesn't have to work so hard, because now they're all in a wholesome state. So now he doesn't really have to stand right there with them, whacking them. They've all got their heads to the ground. They're all comfortable and happy. And so the cowherd can actually go down and sit under a tree. This would be then the analogy of the first jhana. Is that now that we've got all the cows in line and every thought's a wholesome thought, we can relax. One wholesome thought after another wholesome thought after another wholesome thought. So this is the basic goal. Now, once we get into that state of one wholesome thought after another, and the wholesome thoughts are gladdening of the mind and allowing us to actually feel like the cows are all happy now. They're grazing and they're all wholesome. I really can sit out and relax.
Mhm.
And in fact, the entire teaching of the Buddha is going from dukkha to dukkha nirodha. You've heard that phrase.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going from one level of dukkha to dukkha nirodha, another level of dukkha to dukkha nirodha, another level of dukkha to dukkha nirodha, on down. So this whole practice gets more and more peaceful, more and more relaxation, more and more easygoing, more and more satisfying, more and more joyful
Yes.
as we progress.
Yes.
But until we make this first step of getting the mind in a wholesome state, we're not going to make much progress.
So isn't that entire process just what one does when we notice that our mind is wondering or thinking about some goal to achieve, or
Then the next
whatever?
thought was, aha, I see you.
Yes. And
Out
then we
you- And then the next thought after that would be, wow, I'm glad that thought's gone. Now I don't have to think about that anymore.
well, well, my understanding was that once we caught that our mind is wandering into all these things, that we return it to the object of meditation, like the breath or something. And
Yes. Which
and then-
means, under normal circumstances, when you return to the breath, you're not even doing that correctly. And so the mind will just wander away again.
yes,
Okay.
yes, I can keep the mindfulness of the breath for a while, but then like after a while it goes back, and then is the entire process again and again and again and again.
Yeah. For maybe 50, 60 years. And then somebody says, stop this meditation. I need therapy.
Sure. Okay. 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 Yes.
Okay. Why is that? Is because when people return to note the breath, they're not doing it with right effort.
Okay.
And in fact, right effort of the breath will help you understand that if you take the right effort with the breath, then you can take the right effort with the mind. And if you can take right effort with the mind, then you can take right effort with the feelings. But actually, that's the easy part once you got over taking control of the mind,
Yes.
making the mind wholesome.
Okay.
Now, with the breathing, also, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa and Mahasi agree on this. In fact, the language that Mahasi uses is that you have to fall on, jump on, seize, and confront the object of meditation.
Okay.
People don't do that. They note instead.
What does that mean?
It means basically to take over, to take control, to seize the breath, to own it in the sense of take an operation. That basically what's going on is that the reptilian part of the brain, the anterior cortex. No, wait a minute. The posterior cortex. I got that wrong before. Sounds
Yes.
stupid. Okay, the posterior cortex, which is sometimes called the reptilian brain,
Yes.
operates the heart and the breathing. The rate of heart rate and the rate of breathing is done back here with some sensors that monitor blood. But also there is wiring in the brain so that when you begin to think about the breath directly, it lights up the frontal cortex, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to bring your wisdom, bring your ability to see things up. We want to build this up as a skill. Much of this is, in fact, skill development. In order to do that, what we do is we actually seize the breath and take control over it so that we can be mindful, in the sense that mindfulness means now that we're mindful on that in-breath to make sure it's a long in-breath, and then mindful on the out-breath to make sure it's a long out-breath.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a quoting out of the sutras, out of the Anattā Sati Sutta.
Yes,
Mindful of the long, deep in-breath, and yet Mahasi doesn't even talk about it in the sense that you've got to seize, take control, and start controlling the breath.
Yes.
If you don't, then the mind will just wander right away again.
Yes. Okay. I think I understand what you're saying, because I'm not sure, because I'm not very I don't have much experience on that department, I suppose, but I don't know if I've gone to the first jhana or something, but I comprehend what you're saying, because it feels very relatable to what I've experienced before, which was like complete unification with the breath. I suppose it's what you were trying to say with controlling the breath, or which was
become the breath.
Yes, that was a yes.
Seize the breath. Be yet one with the breath. All of these are trying to point in the same direction. We're just fiddling with language, okay?
Yes, of course, yes.
We can use the word fall on, just like three thieves will fall upon a traveler out on the road by himself.
Yes. And I feel
the way that the cops do traffic. They seize it, don't they?
Yes.
Yes.
One of the issues that I face it now, I suppose, or like a couple of them, is that, well, first I did it. So there was, because I've never actually attempted it like with the kind of like seriousness before, I had no expectation of what.
This is not a serious exercise. The word serious itself is a hindrance.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well,
let's move to the word enthusiasm.
Yes, enthusiasm. Yes, that's a good word, I think. And so because I've never did it like that before, like, and also I feel like I had no expectation of what it looked like or what it felt like or something like that. And so it was there was no goal to achieve.
Immediate. Okay, if this is something that you have to practice to develop so that you get any of it into future, that's wrong practice.
Yes.
You're getting the benefit from this right from the very beginning, and as you develop the skill of doing it, you get more and more benefit because your skill level is improving. But right from the very beginning, getting your mind free from hindrances is such a relief.
Yes. I
nothing
agree.
Else other than I don't have to think about that now.
Yes, if that's the only thing, it's already pretty good. It feels pretty good. Yes.
Okay, so that means that if I want to become enlightened and I can see that thought, I can say, well, I don't have to be enlightened right now. I can sit here and enjoy myself for the moment.
Okay.
All right, another one would be to answer that is say, hey, man, I'm already enlightened.
Yes.
I don't need whatever I thought enlightenment was. I'm already good enough.
Yeah,
that
sounds very Zen. That's kind of what the Zen's all about.
They've got good. Nobody listens though. The Zen people say that. The Western Buddhist Zen, they don't hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can see you're already enlightened is nothing more than a really excellent, first-class, noble, wholesome thought.
Yes. I see what you mean now. Yeah. Okay.
Lighten up. You're already.
Yeah. I'm already enlightened.
Right. It's all I have to do is throw the garbage out, throw out the stones, all the weights, and I'm light enough to swim.
Yes. And I suppose when there's recognition that is not the case, we can just switch it back again, right, to the wholesome thoughts again. And then I suppose the entire practice to do this again and again and again and again and again until it becomes a constant flow.
Skill you're developing, but every time that you do it, that's better than when you didn't do it.
Right.
Every time you do it, you get benefit from it right then and there.
Yes. Okay.
So therefore, you don't have to treat your meditation seriously anymore. You're enthusiastic because you really enjoy doing it.
Yes. I do enjoy doing it quite a lot, as a matter of fact.
And you did that by yourself naturally. Good for you. You figured something out a lot of people never figure out. They stay serious.
Yeah.
They stand
Yes.
like Popeye out in that road.
Right. Well, I say that, but I'm not sure if I actually got it. You know, I don't know. I'm not.
Well, you get it a little bit, and then you'll get it again, and then you'll get it again, and then you'll get it twice in a row, and then you're good to go. Okay, that's just how it is. Every time that you do it, it's going to be good.
Yes.
And so we get enthusiastic because we're getting the benefits immediately from it.
Yes. So I guess so. Like when that happened, like it was so like the thoughts. So like I was in complete like unification with the breath, like you said, and the thoughts were so in the background. It was like so tiny, so like just a tiny little tiny noise, and every time that a thought would come up, it would like immediately go away. Like I would notice it almost like in a split second, and it would go away. And there was like it was just a tiny little thing on the background. I've never experienced that before. And
well, first off, it wasn't in the background.
Okay.
It was merely just one mind moment, and then another one.
Okay.
Okay. That when you're thinking of it in the background, what that means is that something was in the foreground and then something was in the background. No, it's like this and this and this and this and this and this and
Sure.
this and this and
Okay.
this and this and this and this and this and this. And now a whole lot of this and more and more and more of this and not so much of this anymore. And
Yes. Okay. Right.
that's why as soon as you see that thought coming up, it's not to see you're trying to get rid of thoughts. When in fact the thoughts that do come up, when they do come back up as unwholesome.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do first is to get all of the thoughts wholesome rather than trying to get rid of them altogether.
Yes.
So you don't want to live your life going around thoughtless.
Yes, of course. It's not that I want to be free from thought, although I kind of want to, I suppose. There's still that
But
idea.
you be free from unwholesome thought now, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I suppose that.
Okay, that's a much better goal then, isn't it? Than
That is a
thoughtless.
better. Yes, it is a better way to put it. Like, I suppose if my thoughts were wholesome all the time, I wouldn't want to be free from them, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we want is not to be free from thought. We want to be free from unwholesome thought.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Of course. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, obviously. Like if the mind was pleasant all the time, we wouldn't want to be free from it.
Well, if it
Obviously.
makes so much sense, why isn't everybody practicing like this?
Yes. Well, I suppose people like are in a certain like negative state and they just want to be free from it, and therefore they think they want to be free from the mind state kind of thing. But obviously, when they're having fun and they're like happy and all that stuff, they don't have that thought of wanting to be free from the mind anymore, right? Because it's fun and wholesome and joyful and all that stuff. So what we want is to be free from unwholesome thought, not all thought.
And if we have only wholesome thoughts, then with those only wholesome thoughts that we are free from hindrances. We have sukha and piti, and we have the ability to apply the mind. That means that first jhana is a really, really good way of living one's life. This is where the Buddha is actually pointing to, because that first jhana actually has the mind in an organized, unified way, because it's all completely wholesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like almost remarkable how the teaching of the Buddha just fits together like this. Okay, and so now we have words like unification of mind. In the Pali, this would be sama area samadhi. But the word samadhi does not mean concentration like it does in the West, Western Buddhism. What it means is getting your stuff together. Okay, what do we get together? The things that unify the mind would be right view, right effort, right sati, and right attitude. And those things bring about a unification of mind. But
Mm.
all of those things are also interrelated with the jhana. So when the mind is organized so that you have only wholesome thoughts, you can apply the mind and keep it wholesome. You have a great deal of joy and enthusiasm, and you walk around living your life like that. That's the same thing. This is the teaching of the Buddha. This state that we're talking about of sukha is free from dukkha. And you can get yourself into that state anytime that you remember to, and to apply the skills you have. And you can be good enough.
Okay. So,
But people put enlightenment way up in the sky and put Buddha way up in the sky instead of recognizing that, no, he just got his shit together.
yes.
Okay. And I think that part of that is the fact that we have holdovers from Christianity, that Christianity tends to put Buddha up there with Jesus and whatnot like that, while in fact he's standing behind them. This Buddha that they're putting up there is one in their own brain, on their own mind.
Mm.
And you're laughing at them too.
So,
But yeah,
where
we put it way out of space. And so for that reason, a lot of people don't even think that they can get anywhere, and so they don't practice.
yes.
And then when people practice and they practice wrongly, they either continue to practice and work too hard, or they quit.
Yeah, they get frustrated.
Got an awful lot of failures going on out there. That's why the noble practice is only for the few.
Right.
Right. Of 7 billion, I would say maybe 70,000 nobles would be plenty enough.
Mm. Plenty enough for what? For like
For the 70,000.
you mean in relation to the okay.
Yeah, to know that there is a network.
I see, yes.
You could say an old boys and an old girls network.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So where I suppose so like this entire so like the entire idea of the of like the path being like shamatha into jhana into to vipassana. Is that a kind of know how it works?
We've got dogs in the yard. Too many dogs. Too many good reasons. But anyway, what you were saying.
I was asking, does the path that is described of like developing shamatha and then into like jhana and then after jhana to practice vipassana and then from there on to get insights into the nature of the self and the nature of reality, is that not what are your thoughts on that, or is that like a completely way too overcomplicated way of seeing things? Or
That's a bit complicated. I would say that the major insights have to do with what is dukkha,
okay.
what is wholesome and what is not wholesome. In the beginning, the students will say have a continuum between here and here. This is completely unwholesome. Everybody can see that. This is completely wholesome, we hope. We haven't seen it yet. Okay.
Yes.
Something. All right. And then they'll draw a line someplace in there. Okay. And everything on this side of the line is wholesome, and everything on that side of the line is unwholesome. And so there you are as a guard. And you guard the mind to make sure that the things that you know are unwholesome go out, and the things that you think are wholesome, you let in. Mm-hmm. But as your skill in this right view changes, that line starts to march up so that the number of things that are unwholesome grows and the number of things that are completely wholesome shrinks.
So you're saying that in that sense, that is already a kind of insight practice in a way.
That's one of the aspects that is insight practice, to know dukkha.
Yes.
I can't think of a better insight practice.
Okay, yes. Sure. Okay. Okay. So you're saying, so you're suggesting that that to develop mindfulness of the breath is itself sufficient.
Say again, I didn't hear you.
The dogs again. I was asking if the practice of the mindfulness of the breath and the detection of unwholesome thoughts and all that stuff is itself sufficient of a practice to attain Buddhahood, or I don't know.
The answer is I haven't given you all of what's going on. There's a few things that are left, but that's like teaching graduate school to kindergarten.
Sure. Okay.
There are things yet beyond.
Yeah.
We can't get going. It doesn't matter what's in the next country
Right.
if I can make 10 steps.
Okay. So baby steps first. Baby steps.
Well, no, this is a huge change.
Okay.
Think about,
Yeah.
I
Sure.
mean, this is a state that is absolutely noble.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right.
This, in fact, there is a part in the sutta where it's actually in sutta number 48. And in this sutta, there's a list of 7 knowledges. And these knowledges, most specifically, are pointed out as the steps from the very first step of Sotāpanna to the complete fruition of Sotāpanna. It's in sutta number 48. I don't know why people are not on the stream entry just gobbling that stuff up, because, well, I do know, it's because it points out that they don't have nothing yet.
Okay.
And so they think they've got something, and so they want to ignore this sutta. Okay, so we're talking about the very, very first step, the first knowledge that is noble, supermundane, a factor of the path, and not held by ordinary people. Okay, a factor of the path, supermundane, noble, and not held by ordinary people. That's the Buddha himself placing that as a path factor right there. It's a first stage of Sotāpanna, the first noble point. And that is when the student has sufficient right attitude that he knows without a doubt that he can clean his mind out of hindrances and come back to this present moment.
Yes.
That's when he knows for absolute dead certain that no matter what happens, he can clean up his mind immediately and jump right back into a wholesome state and see how things really are. This is the first knowledge that is noble, it is supermundane, it's a factor of the path, and not held by ordinary people. All right? Because almost all ordinary people see them things as victim. Oh no, that's too much.
Yes.
Oh, shit happens, right? Okay. This is much more the attitude of, and I'll use it in a kind of a humorous way. Hold my beer. Have you ever heard that expression?
Yes, I have. Yes.
I've got this one wired. I can handle this.
Yes.
Okay? Doesn't matter what happens. I know I can handle it. Okay, this is the first step of the Sotāpanna, where he knows he's got that. But that already means now that he's got that noble right attitude built up that he can handle this. He can, in fact, clean out his mind. He knows that he can remove the hindrances.
Yes.
That even though I'm being arrested by the cop, I'm going to treat that cop with decency, dignity, humility, and humor. And I'm not going to give him a hard time at all, because my mind doesn't have any hard times in it at all.
Yes. So you're suggesting that it stops. It's almost like it stops being a kind of belief into becoming an actual thing that we can notice and see that we can actually do it. It's not like an idea.
The Pali word is shraddha, and it is wrongly in Western Buddhism translated into faith. This is not faith.
Right. Mm.
Okay, this is enthusiastic knowing that I can do this.
Yes. Faith in itself, it's already like the absence of knowing, because if you knew, like, there's no faith to be had.
This is solid confidence. This is
Yeah.
absolute knowing that you can do this. You can take care of this. This is
Yes.
what we call in Buddhism the lion. The Buddha was known as a lion. Okay.
Yes.
This is it. This is the attitude of a can do. We can do this. And that develops because we know that we can get the mind in wholesome states and keep it wholesome and keep it wholesome and keep it wholesome.
Yes.
This is a skill to be developed, and along with the skill of being able to keep it wholesome, which is sustained thought, and it is also right effort, along with that comes a knowledge that you can do that, which then makes the effort not so much effortful.
Yeah, because it becomes an act.
Has a little uncertainty built into it. It's a little bit more effort, but once you've got complete certainty on it,
Yeah.
okay, it's like winding a clock. Once you know that you can wind it, now winding is easy. You just keep doing it. You just keep doing it until it comes to the point to where it's finished, okay?
Yes.
And so this is the way that we have that attitude, is I know that I can wind this clock.
Yes. Yes, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay. So, any suggestions on what I should do? Or I don't know. Does that mean that I'm kind of practicing okay already, and I should just continue? Or
Well, we can say it again. I spent 46 minutes already telling you to purify the mind by having a host of thoughts. Okay, how you do that is up to you, but the clue is, aha! I see you, Mara.
Right. Right. Okay.
As soon as you see an unwholesome thought, you change your mind immediately into recognition that you just had a boo-boo.
Right.
Aha, I saw you. Now, most students don't do that. What they do instead is, oh, me, poor monkey mind. The mind has wandered away from the breath, you know. 6 days of Goenka retreat, and here the students are, oh, me, the monkey mind, I cannot stand this monkey mind, it's just jumping everywhere. Well, that's because you're letting it jump.
Mm-hmm.
And, in fact, you're kicking it around when you say, oh, poor me, monkey mind, this mind is... because the right thing to say is, aha, I caught you. Again.
Yeah. So you're saying instead of...
joy with everything. This is the whole point, is to gladden the mind, to joyful it up, to come out of oh poor me's into got this wired.
Yeah, you're saying instead of like kind of like having the attitude of like beating ourselves up for like wandering, to just like kind of like, oh, I noticed that's one.
Yeah, that's more critical mind. As the mind wanders into critical territory, when you wake up, you find yourself in critical territory, so you criticize yourself. You're not meditating.
Yeah, sure. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, that's still critical mind. We need to change that mindset into nurturing mind. Aha.
Yeah.
Don't have to think about that anymore.
Yes. I feel like I'm over that stage, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just some arrogance kind of thing popping in now. I'm not sure, but no, I feel like I
do it. That's the whole point. Take that attitude that you can do this. You can keep your mind free.
Okay.
You haven't actually tried it before, so there may be some insights into the nature of dukkha.
Sure. Okay.
You can get that out too.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But then what I'm talking about now, a lot of people think that the word insight means insight into the nature of the self.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's the wrong attitude. The right attitude is insights into dukkha, because that's the nature of the self. Or another way of saying it is to start seeing what you are not. Because that's what you know, that you are not the body, you are not the feelings, you are not consciousness, consciousness. You are not perception. You are not your sankara, your memory systems. These are the 5 aggregates, by the way. And you're not
Yes.
any of that crap.
Yes, and by seeing that.
So the Buddha is not about who you are, the nature of the mind. That's let us say, confused Buddhism. You're not getting insight into the nature of who you are. You're getting insight into the nature of what you're not.
Yes.
Who you actually are, I don't think you'll ever figure that out because you're a moving target.
Sure. I suppose, like, in a way, it is the same thing to like get insights into the nature of what we are not, because by knowing what we're not, automatically we know what we are, right? Kind of, not really, I suppose. But like,
But at least we know we're not that.
yes, right.
And it's really hard for people is you are not your past.
Yes.
You are not your sankara. And yet you'll find something that you think about that happened 10 years ago and you'll feel bad.
Yes.
Right? You feel bad now because of something that happened so long ago that only you remember it. And all of those people either never thought of it in the first place or they forgot all about it, and only you were here making yourself miserable over it.
And we can't change it or do anything about it anymore, so there's no point of
continuing. As we wake up today, I'm thinking about the past, and it really is dangerous in there.
Yeah.
See that past thought. That's not who I am.
Yeah. I suppose if we like dwell on that thought, then we're kind of like sustaining it and perpetuating it. And
already stabbed us the first time we had it. We got a gut punch. We automatically feel bad.
Right.
Continue to think about it, continuing to stab ourselves. And we can say, hey, wait a minute, I see that knife. I don't have to do that. I can stop.
Right.
I can turn that leaky adrenaline faucet off.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, it makes sense, of course. Yes.
So this is the insight then, the insight into the nature of what is dukkha and what is not dukkha. This will lead you to understand that you're not any of those things, and will give you insight then eventually, if I have to say it that way, into what personality is. But the important point right from the get-go is that you are not your personality. So all of these aggregates of personality that we can talk about, none of them are you.
Yes. You're referring to the identity or the ego, or when you say personality, I think, right? Or am I misunderstanding that?
We can translate the Pali word into the word personality and then leave it undefined, and you can define it as whatever you want to define it is to make sure that that's not who you are. You are not your personality.
Sure. Okay. Yes.
Because your personality is based upon the past, and who you are right now is a moving target in this present moment, and you're not going to be the same next minute that you are now.
Yes. It changes all the time.
You're changing all the time, anicca.
Yes. Impermanence.
Now, a lot of people think, oh, this is who I am. And because of that, then with not taking right view, they don't take any effort to change their personality, and then they're vindicated that this is who I am. These are people who talk about things like destiny.
Yes, as if it's like a fixed thing that they can't do anything about. Or
right.
Yes.
It's fixed. But in fact, that's not the case. If it is fixed, then that means you believe in the samsara, you believe in the kind of a reincarnate, the law of karma. That if you do good, you'll get good results. If you do bad, you'll get bad results. I don't want to go too much into it right now. We will later when you call. But the point is that you are not the past, and that you cannot expect the past to rule you, which is in fact the law, the teaching of the law of karma. That you see that very commonly. Oh, it's just your karma. No, it's not. That's not who I am. That's a personality. That what you are is a set of developing skills. That's who you are. And as you develop those skills, who you are changes. But there's nothing fixed in there. Not only that, but who you are not only changes, but it's not something steady changing. It's that here you are, there you are, there you are, there you are.
Okay.
That the self only arises due to conditions. And when those conditions are not there, then there's no self there. What are those conditions? Those conditions would be normally in our language called selfishness. That many people are not selfish all the time, but sometimes they are selfish.
Yes.
Which means they're trying to protect themselves, trying to keep
Yes.
something for themselves.
Yes, and that's when the personality is in place. Right. Like I suppose, for example, when I'm in deep sleep, there's no personality there, for example, right?
Exactly.
Right. Sure. Or if I'm like really involved in something or in some activity or with someone or
We can say it like this, okay, in order. First off, you have spent so many years talking yourself into feeling bad. And that's who your personality is what you've talked yourself into becoming, including all of the things in the moment. Therefore, you can talk yourself into feeling good. And when you talk yourself into feeling good, it's not the same person who talked himself into feeling bad. If you can, in fact, talk yourself into feeling good, you can continue to talk yourself into feeling good. And by that very nature, the personality has changed, which means you are not now who you were in the past. So if you remember something that happened in the past, then we can feel guilty over it because we still making the mistake is I am in the past, not recognizing, no, it's just the past. It's not me there. And the way to talk about it is the sense is that's not who I am now. I have a higher standard than that.
Okay.
That is not me. And I don't do that kind of thing anymore. I renounce that kind of behavior.
Yes.
And it's not me.
So what if, sorry, I interrupt you there, I think.
And I can be done with it. Because I don't do that. I don't do that. That's not who I am.
So what if I go into the past and remember something nice, and then that makes me feel good? Okay. Instead of making me feel bad.
How long are you going to stay in the past looking for things to feel good over until you stumble over something and fall over into self-pity?
Sure.
Not long. And the reason for it is because the human brain is wired that way. When we were children, we remember the things that are dangerous because of the self-preservation instinct. An example of that is little Johnny has been using his crayons and he writes on the wall of his bedroom. And mom comes in and she sees that and she thinks of landlords and she starts fussing at the child and telling him, you're not supposed to write on the wall. If she had had wisdom at that point, she would have come in and say, wow, that's a beautiful drawing. We need to move that to a piece of paper. Here, let me buy you an art set and you can become a Picasso. But instead, she fussed at him, and he remembers being fussed at when he was drawing, and he winds up being very bad at drawing the whole rest of his life.
Yes.
Okay? That's a clear example. We pick stuff up in childhood, and then that determines who we are. But that guy could sit down and he could recollect, I bet I could draw. I just haven't had any experience in the past 15 years because I was a kid and I got fussed at. But now let me go get an art set and let me piddle with it and maybe I can enjoy it. Some people
practice.
Pick up art in their later life.
Right. Yes. Yes, it's a practice like meditation. It's a skill.
Exactly. That's why they do call it practice. I fully agree that we should call it practice. Anapanasati practice.
Yes.
The practice of cleaning out the mind is number one item on the list. Get the hindrances out of the mind. Get joyful thoughts in, which is also, you can see that, it's a mechanism. First is sati, we wake up. Number two, we take a look. And we can see that that's unwholesome. And number three, we take the effort to throw it out. Then we take the effort to take a deep breath and make sure then that the next thoughts are going to be very wholesome. Thoughts of relaxation. Thoughts of, wow, I'm glad I caught that. Thoughts of, well, I'm glad I don't have to go there anymore.
Mm.
Thoughts of everything is okay right now. And so we get ourselves out of whatever thought forms that we were in, and we relax. So now we have talked about step number 10 of Anapanasati, which is the waking up and investigating the mind. Number 10 is to gladden the mind, which now brings on a feeling of well-being, which is step 7 or 6. And then we bring up the confidence, I can do this, which is step 5, while we're doing step 1 of taking deep, long in-breaths, which means that now we're beginning to experience and be in the body, step 3, and now we can, because we're in first jhana, relax the body, and that's step 4. And we've got almost all of Anapanasati steps wired together.
Okay.
And now that we're in the first jhana, we can go after the big goods, and that is, what are we going to do now that the mind is in first jhana? Now it's the time to note. Now is the time to pay attention, except that now we have a nice long list of wholesome things to look at.
Okay.
Rather than unwholesome things. That
Okay.
everybody, so all the Western meditators are spending all of their noting time noting a bunch of crap, and here we are completely free from the crap. What are we going to?
So you're saying after one's in first jhana, one can immediately start making note practice?
Yes. What are you going to do with your applied and sustained thought?
Well, my interpretation was that, like, I think my interpretation was that you from first you go to second to third to fourth, and then the formless jhanas are.
Let's not go there.
Okay.
Let's go to first jhana. Everything that you need to do can be done in first jhana. That in fact the list of things to note are the same whether you're in first jhana or all the way up through 8 or 9, if you want to list it like that, or the formless, or whatever way you want to talk about it. It's that same list minus an item or two along the way.
Yes.
So the second jhana is where we give off the applied and sustained thought. In the third jhana is where we get rid of the pity. In the fourth jhana is where we get rid of the sukha. Okay, and we're still left with all the other things that need to be noticed.
Right. So you're saying it's just a concentrated mind with like one or two less things.
You can use a samadhi mind if you like, but concentrated minds, I don't know what a concentrated mind is. Okay. Yes, I do. A concentrated mind is someone who's not paying attention. He's absorbed or immersed or lost in space.
Yes.
Not paying attention is what concentration is.
Now that you mentioned that, I've noticed that one of the hindrances that is present the most, or most often, I suppose, is dullness. And
well, that's because you're not breathing well.
Okay.
There's noting breath instead of seizing it and take control over it. If you take long, deep in-breaths and long, deep out-breaths, then your tiredness will melt away.
Okay. So
now that's only true up to the point that everyone has a limit that we can call our attention span. For most people, it starts at about 20 minutes. But as you develop sati, as you develop mindfulness, as you develop wholesome thought, you'll be able to sustain that. And then you can stay in a Dhamma conversation for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, sharp as a tack. But those people, they start after 20 minutes, you're
like
I see students that way.
Right. I can get to PT very often. I want to say almost all the time. and I don't know what to do with it. I get, like, for example, yesterday I had PT for like, I don't know how long because I wasn't timing, but maybe for like 40 minutes I had PT, and I don't know what to do with it.
Investigate it.
Right.
Yeah, it's something to be noted, right? Pay close attention. Where is it in the body? How do you feel? What are the actual sensations? Where do they go? Does it associate with the right attitude? Are these just merely sensations in the body, or is this the attitude of the lion, the winner? I can do this, the winner's attitude. How would you feel, for instance, if you had just won a big gold medal in the Olympics? How would you feel if you had just climbed and you're on top of now Mount Everest?
Sure. So it would feel pretty good.
All right. So feel pretty good. And as you feel pretty good, investigate that pretty good feeling.
Okay. So are you saying that I should switch my awareness from the breath into the PT, or?
No, I told you that there is a long list of things to note inside of one breath.
Okay.
That have long, deep breathing so that you can note a whole bunch of stuff, including your piti, noting your sukha, noting your investigation, noting your Eightfold Noble Path, noting the path factors, noting is the mind organized, is it unified, noting how is my right effort, noting how is my sati. Start paying attention to the important things. This is what's worth noting.
Okay. So maybe I'm misinterpreting that word. When you say noting, do you mean like noting in the traditional like Mahasi way, or do you mean noticing?
It doesn't matter to me. The
well,
problem,
I'm just...
There's not a problem with the English language. The problem is with the Mahasi method giving people to note the wrong things, which means anything that occurs. Yes. And we're saying, oh no, we're only going to allow wholesome things to occur, and we're going to throw the unwholesome stuff out. Therefore, they're not worth noting, other than to throw. You're gone.
I see what you mean. Okay, so what you're saying is,
what is left then are the jhana factors. Therefore, keep noting those jhana factors. Keep looking at that piti. Keep looking at that sukha. Recognize how good do you feel. How good is this already? How good is this stuff?
Yes. Okay. So if I understood you correctly, what you're saying is, when we notice unwholesome thoughts, we should transition to wholesome thoughts. And
you're right, in about 1/10 of a second.
Yes. And then when
I see you is the next mind moment.
Yes.
Or you can spend a whole lot of mind moments in misery, and then finally you wake up, and then you can say, finally, aha, I see you.
That's probably what I do. What happens to me most, I think. I'm not sure. But
and then what this is all about is let's start looking at this stuff.
Yes. And then once the mind is filled with wholesome thoughts only, then you note those.
Yes.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Jhana factors, because you're developing the jhana factors.
Yes.
So, gladdening a mind, wholesome thought would be, how is my sukha? Doesn't this feel good? Am I completely free from fear right now? Is there anything dangerous? Nothing dangerous here. I feel really, really safe. I feel really, really secure.
Okay.
Do I feel satisfied? Yeah, I feel really satisfied. Do I feel comfortable? Yeah, things are comfortable. A lot of students will sit in pain in meditation and ask about how to do that. The answer is, if you're in pain, you're not in jhana.
Sure.
But jhana is comfortable. And pain, you don't like it. Pain is a hindrance.
Well, is pain a hindrance, or is suffering the problem? Because, like, I suppose...
if you use the word pain, you're already using the word suffering. Otherwise, it's not painful. It's just a body sensation. Not good to call that.
Right.
We call it pain. Already suffering.
I wouldn't even bother to label it pain or anything at all, because if it was pleasant, then whatever, I wouldn't need to label it pain. Of course, when I label it pain, that's suffering that's present there. Okay.
Right.
Sure.
Which means that if the body is talking to you, saying, I need something here, for instance, you can stand up. It's better for you to stand up and maintain a good space than to sit in pain thinking that that's something that should be done. Because you don't like it. You're not in jhana. You're in the hindrance of, I don't like this sensation in the body.
Right. Aversion, or would it be? Yeah. Okay. So, yes. So now that you mentioned that, maybe I can ask too. I have noticed that for some reason, when I'm doing formal practice in a sitting cross-legged with a cushion, spine straight, the traditional stuff, that I cannot do nice long breaths as easily for some reason. Like I can do it, or rather, I can do it through my chest, but not through my belly. Those nice belly long ones.
You don't breathe anyway. There's no lungs in the belly. That's a stomach down there.
Stomach, right? Yes. Okay. Sure. Sure. Yes.
What it has come to be known. I don't know why they did. I would go so far as to say that the Pali scholars of the 1880s through the 1920s were not anatomists, nor did they play musical instruments. They don't know the body. They were not anatomists. They did not know anatomy, and they were not musicians.
Okay.
If they had been trumpet players or trombone players or even an oboe player, then they would know all about diaphragmatic breathing.
Okay.
Okay. So you can't take a long, deep breath without opening the diaphragm, which is a set of muscles that are about here, not way down in the belly.
Okay.
Nobody can belly breathe. That whole idea of contemplating the navel, I think, was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
That the British, when they saw and tried to understand what the Burmese were talking about, it became a joke of navel gazing.
Yes.
Right? That's way too low for where the breathing is done. The breath body doesn't go down that low. The breath body stops about the top of the stomach, where all of those muscles are that need to expand and be used for a deep breath. The important thing with sitting is that you're sitting up straight. There's two reasons for sitting up straight. One is that if you're curved, then gravity is pulling down this way. But if you're sitting up straight, then the gravity pulls. So it's a much better, more comfortable, long-lasting sitting posture to sit up straight. But not only that, but while you're sitting up straight, now your diaphragm and your lungs can open and breathe. When we're slumped over, which some people do set meditation and they're slumped over, they can't breathe. We need to sit up straight so that we can. But I wouldn't say that you can sit up so straight that you can let us say that you can abdominally breathe, because human anatomy is not built that way.
Okay. So you're saying it makes sense that I can't do that very comfortably.
The breath body that is referred to in the suttas is referred to as only the breath body, not the abdominal. I think that that's of the bad translations, and I can give you dozens of words. I'll put that on the list of just another bad translation.
Okay.
Navel gazing or abdominal breathing, because you can't breathe in your abdomen. Think about it. You know what your abdomen is. Your the abdominal cavity is below the stomach.
Yes.
Yes.
When I'm sitting in a chair, for example, I can do that much easier.
Okay. So you've been raised in a chair your whole life.
Yes.
You're not living here in Thailand where the Thai people, because I think it has to do with the temperature and whatnot. They can live their whole lives easily, comfortably on a hardwood floor. In Europe and in United States, most people will freeze their butts off sitting
Yes.
on a hardwood floor. At least much
Yes.
of the year. Okay, so they use furniture. The Thai culture, we don't have much furniture here. That the last time a whole bunch of people were here, we had a birthday party, and about 30 people were here, and we still got 3 chairs. Now, all the Westerners would have gone home. The Thai people that that we had laid out, and they're all sitting comfortably, happily on the floor. Some of them in postures I still can't get into, and don't even want to try. But
Okay.
half-lotus, all of that the Thai people can do, but you were yanked up off the floor when you were a babe and put into a high chair, and you just not did the muscles that you needed atrophied. And you really don't need those muscles because you don't sit on the floor anyway, unless you think that that's part of meditation. But meditation is not about squatting on the floor. Let us put it this way. Anattā, what the Buddha taught, is to be taught to be done in all postures.
Yes. At all times or in any place.
I say at all times. I would go so far as to say to do it every time you can remember.
Yes. Yes, of course. Can't do it if I...
Is a goal that you'll fail and then feel bad over.
Yes, yes.
You can take pride. And I remembered again.
Yes.
Well, it's good to get out of dukkha right now instead of saying, oh, I spent so much time in dukkha. I mean, it's your attitude change that needs to happen there, okay? And it's all about an attitude change. So it doesn't matter what posture that you're in. The question is, are you developing sati? And for that reason, and also the idea that people get tired, that it's better for students to handle 20 minutes of meditation 6 times a day than it is to sit for an hour and a half.
Okay. Well, I noticed, for example, during the week after work, it is very complicated because my body's tired, everything's tired.
Okay.
Right.
So
but
give that up.
Yeah. So to do
all the way home.
Yes. Yes. I can do
the mind. I mean, you can gladden the mind while you're holding a steering wheel and watch where you're going.
Yes. I do that like throughout the day, very, very often, I think, to like just bring awareness to the moment and to the breath and all that's my posture, and I adjust myself a little bit and all that kind of stuff.
Well, now it's time to adjust the mind. That's the one now that you recognize that's got to be done first. That's the big job, is take all those unwholesome thoughts out. It's only after you get the mind really fit for work that any noting is useful.
Right, of course. Yes, it makes sense. Only when the mind is in that state, only then noting can be a fruition.
Right.
Okay.
This is why, for most, it's such a long, slow process.
Yes.
First thing they have to do is figure out that they have to figure out what dukkha is.
Yes.
Nobody ever told them that, hey, man, your number one job is to figure out what dukkha is. That's the first noble truth, by the way. Hello, folks, wake up. First noble truth coming, And they don't get it. Why is the first noble truth so important that we got to know dukkha? Is because we're going to immediately rip it out by the throat when we catch it.
Yes. People are very distracted, busy, occupied with their own things that they don't even recognize that those things are suffering and therefore they can't do anything about it.
Well, at least they're unsatisfactory.
Yes, unsatisfactory. Yes.
When things go way off the deep end, that we would call it suffering.
Yeah, when it becomes really obvious, really clear. Yes, right. So, is it okay to like start with so like for example, if I want to do long breaths, they don't come naturally, I suppose, and so I have to like kind of.
You've been breathing badly your whole life.
Right.
I wouldn't call it natural. I would call it normal. They're not. What you're doing is not normal breathing.
Yes. Okay.
You might find that this not normal breathing actually becomes natural breathing. It actually is natural, but it's not the normal short breath that people have.
Yes. Okay. So by that logic, it's totally okay to like kind of force the long breaths a little bit. Force, maybe it's a strong word, but
yes. Okay. Again, this is control. You're using the word force as if there was something wrong with it. But in this regard, let's go to Star Wars movies and say, yes, let the force be freaking with you. Yeah, let's do some force here.
Yes.
We take control. This is an active meditation. You got to have skin in the game.
Okay.
Okay. An example would be that you're watching someone play a video game, right?
Yes.
Playing a video game is different than actually watching somebody play a video game. If you're playing the video game yourself, you got your hand on the mouse, you got skin in the game. You're clicking that and clicking that and moving here and doing this and that and the other thing, and you're going to keep your mind focused on it. But if you're watching somebody play a game, any distraction in the mind will just wander away.
Quite true. As a person that plays and watches a lot of games, I can totally understand that reference very well. Yes.
Okay. So get some skin in this game. This is your mind you've got to fix.
Okay.
Just pay attention. Let's keep going with this.
Okay.
So, yes, if you want to use the word force, okay, you can use the word force.
Yeah. Maybe it's just
Have a hold of that thing and click that mouse.
Yeah.
Draw breath.
What I've noticed.
Boy, do the job. It's not going to come by itself. You got to put in the right effort.
Right. Okay. And then also what I've noticed is that after a bit, I don't have to force it anymore. It just kind of flows much more naturally. It's just. I
should say something like "told you."
Yeah.
But that's what habits are. You can develop new habits.
Yes.
But you have to take the effort to develop new habits.
All right.
Body will breathe naturally anyway. I mean, I can see that. I've done that, in fact, for, 30 years. I have been around and watched other people breathing, and it looks like that they're breathing like this and breathing like this and breathing like this. And the dogs are doing it like this. But humans are breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing out. And my normal reference would be about breathing in. And they're breathing in and breathing out and breathing in and breathing out.
I see. Yes.
And so you slow it down. Most people breathe about 20 breaths a minute. So you can slow it down first in half and then down to 3. In fact, if you count 4, 4, 2, 4 on the in breath, 4 on the out breath, and 2, that's 10. Now you're down to 6 breaths a minute by counting to 10. And then you the 8, 8, 2, or excuse me, that's too far. 5, 5, 2, and at 5, 5, 2, that's 12 breaths a minute. Now you're down to 5 breaths a minute. You're breathing now at a quarter the speed that normally people breathe at, giving you plenty of time to watch what's going on. And then you can go down to 8, 8, 4. And 8, 8, 4 means 8 on the in breath, 8 on the out breath, and 4 counts between the in breath and the out breath. This would be a place where you're getting ready to go into second jhana, where you're going to use that count of 4 between the in breath and the out breath, between the out breath and the in breath, rather, as a time when the mind is completely quiet for about 4 seconds, which is a huge number of mind moments.
Yes.
Long enough for you to figure out what it's like for the mind to be quiet. So at that rate of 8, 8, 4, now you're breathing 16 plus 4 is up to 20. Now you're down to 3 breaths a minute. And that's a good place to rest.
Okay.
Compared to 20 is a lot of work, In, out, in, out, in, out, and they're only breathing 20 to 60%. When you're breathing long, deep in breaths, that means that you're closer to about 70, 30. Even 80, 20.
You mean 80 of actually air flowing and 20 of...
Right. You're about 80% full going down to about 20% full. Then on the next in-breath, going back up to about 80, and then back down to about 20.
Okay.
We don't want to do anything 100%. That's too much work. It's like trying to top off your tank by jumping on the bumper.
Okay.
We don't need to just up and down and up, nice, long, slow. Oh, this is so nice, easy breathing.
Yes. And so, because we're kind of not used to breathing in that way at all, it is totally okay to.
Right. That's why you can only do this for about 10 or 15 minutes, because you're actually using now muscles you've never used before. You've been using muscles like this. Now we're using muscles like this. Okay, so your actual rib cage needs to develop. You can take these long, slow, deep breaths, unless you were an oboe player to begin with.
Okay, I see. I feel like I had more questions, but I can't recall at the moment.
Oh. When are you going to call again?
Well, I work by shifts, so sometimes I work like mornings and early afternoon and then afternoon, nights. And next week I'm working like normal day, which...
Do you mind me asking, where are you?
I'm in Finland.
Finland, right. Okay, yes. So you're in, what down? 6 hours. Should be about, what, 6 hours, 5 hours between here,
it's
right?
4 hours, I think, from my guess. Because your 4 p.m. is my midday. So I think it's 4.
Oh, only 4 hours from Finland.
Yeah.
Wow. So
I mean,
from Britain, because Britain's 7.
Yeah. No, Britain is 6, I think. Maybe it was 7 when the time changed. But because I'm on the far east of Europe, so I have the most extreme time zone of Europe that way, and Britain has the most eastern, so it's 2 hours difference, I think. So that's. I might be wrong. It's 3 hours. I don't quite.
It is 6 hours when saving time. We don't have any saving here.
Okay, yeah, we should do that because it's a bit annoying here.
Our time right in the very moment. We don't need to save it.
Yeah. Okay. And I was mentioning that because next week I'm working normal days, so the entire day it coincides with the time of work for me, coincides with the time which you are available. So I don't think I can do it till weekend, I think.
That'll be. You can also, when you wake up in the morning, that would be daytime for me, 4 hours. I mean,
yes,
if you call me at 7, that would be 11 in the morning here.
Yeah, so I go to work at 6 and I start prepare. I go to work at 6 and I leave at 2 p.m. So I usually start preparing at around 5:15. So I think my 4 a.m. is your 9 or something like that.
4 hours.
Maybe I can.
When you
maybe
get
if I wake up. I think maybe if I wake up like an hour earlier or something, I can make a call of like an hour around, maybe something like that.
Or you can wait till the weekend. That's fine. No problem.
I'll have to check.
We cover a lot of territory in a short time once a week.
Yes.
I mean, look how far we got today. We got step 1 done, didn't we?
Yeah. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was fun. So, assuming I'll call you during the week. When would that be a good idea? Like maybe tomorrow it's not of much fruition. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, the next day will be okay. Yeah, you can get up early and call. That'll be fine.
When?
What you said, you arrive at work at 6 a.m. So you would call here at what, 4:30, 5 in the morning?
It would be like 4 in the morning for me.
That would
for
be
you.
That would be early in the morning, 8. Better. Why don't you just wait for the weekend and call like you did this time?
Yeah. Well, I have to wake up at 5 anyway to go to work at 6. So I can maybe around like 1 hour earlier. I like to wake up early anyway, but it's hard because my schedule keeps changing, and so my sleep schedule changes as well. But yeah, I'll see how it goes, I suppose.
Then when your schedule changes, we'll have a whole new discussion.
Yeah, when my schedule changes, I have a lot more free time, which will be not this week, but on the other week. So.
Well, one of the things that happens with people who are practicing Anapanasati correctly is they stop doing so much work.
What does that mean?
It means that they figure out that, hey, I can enjoy my life. I don't have to work really hard to get stuff that I don't have yet.
Okay. Speaking of work, maybe I would like to talk about work, but maybe I don't know if it's getting late for you, but it's probably a talk that might take a while.
We got plenty of time. We can talk later.
Okay, we'll talk later then. Okay. So I guess that's it for
your name. You say it Joni? Is that how you say your name?
Yes, my name is Joni. Yes, Joni. Yeah.
All right, Joni, I'm really glad to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
I'm getting out of our talk today, including all the smiles and joy.
Oh, yes. Thank you. And it was really nice talking to you too. And I'm looking forward for our next sessions. I think it's what we should call it.
Call a Skype call.
The Skype call. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I'll try to see if I can figure out a better way to hold the phone and keep it in a stable position. But yeah.
We're doing this. Yeah, we're slow getting started, but you're okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, bye. Bye.
See you later. May you have a good moment.